What's cracking, everyone? My name is Ryan, and today I want to talk to you guys about the Soundpeats Engine 4. Now, first of all, I want to send a special thank you to Soundpeats for sending these over for my review. All thoughts and opinions are of my own. So the Engine 4 retails in at $59.99. However, through the month of June, you can grab a discount code that will get you these for $41.99, and there's a giveaway also that will last till June 20th. All of this is going to be in the description in my video down below. So inside the box, you're going to get the Soundpeats case, of course, which is a glossy and fingerprint magnet type case, but that's okay. And then you're also going to get, of course, the Soundpeats earbuds inside of there. And getting them out can be a little bit tricky at first because they're a little bit slippery, but once you get them, there is nice grip on the side there for the Soundpeats. The medium tips are already going to be on there when you get them out. You also will get a USB-C charge cable. You'll get the instruction manual, and you're also going to get a card that will basically get you up and running with the app and telling you how to do that. Now, the build of these, as I said already, you know, it's got a textured feel to the side of the earbuds, which I really like, and it's got a rubberized material, silicone almost underneath. So gripping these are very easy to do. And one thing I really like about that is they're angled in so that the touch functions on the Soundpeats, you don't really hit that when you're trying to put them in your ear, which I appreciate because so many earbuds, as I'm adjusting them, I'm, either turning the volume up or playing with the music or something like that when I'm not meaning to. So that is really nice that they have the texture like that. The nozzle's a little bit short, so getting them in, I had to use different size tips for my ears. So just do note that. Everybody else might be different, of course. But then once I got them in, they were snug, they were airtight. I have good seal and shaken head test. They didn't fall out when I was out and about. So, nice job there on the comfort of the earbuds. Now, technical wise, there's some interesting things going on here, especially for the price. Now, these are Bluetooth 5.3. The codec for this Bluetooth is going to be SBC and an LDAC, which I think is very nice. It has a uptime of about 12.5 hours and about 43 hours total time because you can charge them over 3 times with the case. And by the way, charging the case and the earbuds takes about 2 hours from dead to full, which is pretty nice as well. Now, these do have multi-point connects so that you can connect these to two different devices, but just something to note, if you're going to do that, it will shut off the LDAC codec, so you won't be able to do that and connect to multiple devices. And then there is also a low latency game mode that you can use when connecting to the app, or if you're using these to play video games and things, which is also something pretty nice to do. Now, the range of these is rated up to about 100 feet. Now, of course, you can make phone calls and talk in these. I will tell you that talk time was perfectly fine. I asked my wife when I was speaking to her on the phone if I sounded good. She said I did. Sounded like I was talking on the phone. So I know what everybody's curious about, and that is the sound. So let's go ahead and talk about that next. All right, so for sound, really out of the box without doing any kind of EQ or connecting them to the app, the sound to me is a little bit relaxed. And what I mean by that is starting with the bass, I feel like these are a tiny bit bass light for an earbud. Now, in general, they're not bass light. You get extension and you will hear bass, but I feel like some earbuds I've heard just have a little bit more gusto in the bass, and you don't really get that, I think, out of the box, at least not in my impressions. Now, mid-range is decent. There's nothing, really spectacular to talk about with the mid-range, and treble, I think, is pretty good as well in that it's not anything that is fatiguing with the treble out of the box. I thought that was good. It's not dark. It's definitely maybe a little bit relaxed in the treble region, which I thought was a pleasing sound, again, out of the box. Now, dynamic-wise, as far as music hitting and, energy of the music and things, I didn't feel like it had a lot of dynamics going on for it either right out of the box directly without any EQs. But these are earbuds, and they want you to use the app. And when you start using EQs, these things will liven up. And that's what I want to talk to you about, is going through the app next. But what I'd like to do is walk you through the different things of the app really quick, and then talk about the different sounds you're going to get as I do walk you through that. All right, so when you do get inside the app, I want to walk you through just really quick a couple of things to note on here. It's going to search for the earbuds. It's going to connect to them. Settings wise, you really don't get much in the way of settings. You can set the language, and that's about it, or upgrade the firmware. That's about all there, and it's going to tell you a little bit about them. But when you go down below and click on the first, looks like an EQ type profile there, you're going to see you get volume control, you get adaptive EQ, which that is basically going through like a hearing test of your own so that it will adjust the EQ to your hearing. You can do that if you want. Personally, I like to do things on my own. Then there is also presets of EQs, which you get 8 different presets. There's the custom equalizer, which we'll talk about. Game mode is the low latency mode I talked about. Now that is flipped off by default. Then there's the disable all functions touch keys. I love that feature. As I was saying, if you're worried about bumping these while you're trying to do things with them, you can just flip that on and, mess with them as you want if you're trying to change the tips or something. And then there's the dual device connection. Now, as I said, when you flip that on, it is going to tell you it's going to shut off the LDAC. So just note that, and it's going to restart the app when you do that. But I did connect these to my phone and to my laptop at the same time. I was listening to music on my laptop and waiting for calls on my phone. What I will tell you is that I was able to adjust the EQ on my phone because I had them on the laptop. But if you didn't have this hooked up to your phone, you'll get no functionality with that EQ because it's all through the app. And as far as I know, you can only get the app through mobile devices such as Apple and Android. So something to note on that. Now, the EQ profiles, let's go to those because I want to talk to you about the sound of that. So the Soundpeats Classic sound is kind of what I already talked to you guys about. But like I said, there's 8 different modes here. My personal opinion is that's too many, but that's just me. Now, the bass boost mode is just like it sounds. It's going to give you a little bit of boost to the bass. It sounds pleasing enough, but everything else is how it is. Bass reduction, did not care for that mode. It reduces bass even further. As I said, I didn't feel like it had a ton going for it to begin with. And then I'm going to skip over the next 2. I'm going to talk to you about folk really quick. I did not care for folk. To me, that's like singer-songwriter type stuff. So you should have a boost to your upper mids and treble, and you actually don't. I didn't really like the sound of the folk setting. Treble enhancer, I mean, if you want to just stab your ears with treble and just, you want to do that with treble, you go right ahead, but that's pretty much what treble enhancer does. The pop mode also was a big failure for me in that I was expecting maybe some better mid-range, upper mid-range and treble and maybe some bass types. I don't know. I didn't care for pop mode. And classical. Soundpeats must not like people that like classical music because that is like turning on the dead enhancer. There's just nothing. I mean, it's like everything's turned down. To me, if you're listening to classical music, you're going to want to be able to pick out string instruments and things and have that lovely sound, and it just darkens things. Now, maybe that's because you're thinking you're listening to classical music, you want to just sit back and sleep, so maybe they should call that sleep music mode. But for classical music, I don't think that's engaging of a sound, and I did not care for that at all. But again, that's just me. The 2 modes I like the best, electronic and rock and roll. Now, you might be thinking electronic, okay, if I want to listen to electronic music. No, I disagree. The electronic mode will give you a bass boost, which really sounds good in my opinion. And it also boosts the upper mid-range. So what you get out of that, if you like vocalists and things, Lana Del Rey, Rihanna, Adele, all of those shine through a little bit more and were a pleasing listen. And especially somebody like Billie Eilish, who likes to use a lot of bass in her songs, that was really an engaging sound. And then, of course, listening to EDM, hip hop and things, that sounds good too, because you can hear the lyricist, the vocalist coming through, and you get a good sense of bass and you don't drop out your mids. Now, rock and roll, I like that one because if I am listening to more upbeat music, that rock and roll is going to enhance the treble a little bit. So it can get a little bit fatiguing at times. You can get some sibilance depending on the tracks. When I listen to singers, again, there is a little bit of that sound to their voices on that, but I probably enjoyed rock and roll EQ setting the most and electronic right next to it. So that's just my personal opinion on those two. And then the custom EQ, of course, I'm a big fan of that if you want to customize your own EQ. The one thing I would like Soundpeats to do in the future, though, cut down on the 8 different EQ profiles, in my opinion. Maybe give us 4 or 5 and give us 3 personal EQ profiles that we can make for ourselves and switch in between. If you could do that, guys, it'd be golden. The other thing I'd like to see them do with the EQ profiles is maybe when you hit them, it actually shows you on the EQ what it's doing so you fully understand, especially if you're trying to learn what EQ does. If you are, that's something, they could probably do in the app. But overall, I like the sound of these. For $59.99, definitely. For $41.99, hell yes, I do. I did compare these to the Koss 250i that I just did a review on, just because, they're $49.99, so pretty comparable price-wise. Now, the Koss doesn't have a lot going on for features, doesn't have the LDAC, doesn't have the charge time or anything like that, but what it does have going for it, I think, is sound, and that out of the box, I think the Koss just sounds more lively and energetic and musical to me. And I mean, it's Koss, it's what they do, but these, once you EQ them, definitely can do the same thing. The bass is not ever going to really get there all the way, in my opinion, but it gets there enough to be engaging. And I like the sound of the Soundpeats. I like the feature of the Soundpeats, and I think they did an excellent job with this earbud, especially for the market price that they are going for in that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If so, please smash that like button. And if you haven't done so already, I'd love if you subscribe to the channel, because I have got a lot more content that I'm working on and getting things out on a steady basis. All right, guys, thanks for watching again, and I will see you in the next one.